Getting us set up on Facebook here. Getting us set up on Facebook here. All right, I think we are live. Yes, we are. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. This is the 10K presentation of the Bet on Black pitch for this evening. We have a wonderful guest here, Mr. Xavier Gray, and he's going to tell us all about his wonderful venture. I am going to, as usual, share the presentation here and get you up and going so you can see this. Let me make sure I can share my screen at this moment. It's all over the place. So we're going to make sure I get you. And tell me when you can see that. Can everybody see my screen? I think I moved it over here. Everybody see that? So tonight's presentation is Tech and Flow, which is a great name, by the way.
Thank you.
Gotta love that. With all that, as you see here, we see they have already raised $65,000 from 35 investors. The minimum investment is $100. And there are this is a future equity deal. This is WeFunder, so we're all pretty familiar with this, but if not, you'll see all the highlights. This is an interesting aspect that you should actually go through this. I know Tawana tells you every week to kind of go through this, but there's so much information that can be gleaned from the campaign page. You can see so many things that you can answer some of the questions that you may have outlying, or just even get some insights that you can have that tie things together from this presentation. So if you want to see that, there's a great pitch portion here that I think is a really interesting about your story, which I hope that you kind of go into tonight. And they show you the problems and this little slide here. So again, as we move through this, be sure to ask any of your questions and place them into the Q&A section. And at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Gray to begin the presentation.
Excellent. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. As she has already said, I really appreciate all of your time. I'm going to be mindful of it. My pitch will probably be no greater than about 10 minutes, and then certainly am open to answer as many questions as you like. My name is Xavier Gray. I'm the founder of Tech and Flow. Now at Tech and Flow, what we're doing is we're building an innovative financial planning experience designed to help our community, which is young professionals, reach their first $250,000. Now, the behind the scenes to Tech and Flow, for you to really understand the context, I grew up in a very low middle class family. My family didn't exactly do crazy well or teach me a whole lot about financial literacy or wealth building or such. In fact, I actually watched my parents struggle. And one notable story was one day the van was in the driveway, the next it was gone. And this wasn't Uber or something like this. It was gone. And so it was really in those sort of key moments that I remember, like, this has to change. Like I need to learn about wealth building. I need to learn about building wealth. I need to learn about investments. And I watched friends and friends' family do well and ours not. So fast forward 10 years later, I've worked as a banker and a financial advisor, realized a lot of problems that weren't being addressed by these corporations, these companies that I worked for. So decided to start Tech and Flow. We're going on about 2 years of running Tech and Flow, and I would boil it down to these primary problems. Number one, the average consumer has poor money management habits. This is reflected in the fact that almost 40% of people couldn't even cover a $400 unexpected expense. I would say number two, there's a lack of motivation because finance isn't an instant gratification game. You want to go to a baseball game or go get a massage or go buy a new pair of shoes, and you get that immediate dose of dopamine or oxytocin when you purchase it. Finance is really the opposite. You might not see any real momentum for 3 to 5 years. The final piece is there is a lack of financial education and knowledge. You would think that the solution would be something like advisors or banks, but the reality is the best services and the best advice is given to individuals over $250,000 to $500,000. So why do we feel we can address these issues now? Because as we know, many of these aren't new. Well, 80% of adults recorded by a survey by the FINRA Foundation, 80% of adults express a desire for financial literacy and feel taken advantage of because of their lack of knowledge. More than that, between 2020 and 2021, there were more individuals than ever that established brokerage accounts for the first time. 60% of them were first-time account holders. And then that's a little incorrect, I apologize, but 28% of consumers work with a financial advisor is really what that's supposed to say. So that tells us there's a gap. There's a knowledge gap. There's a desire. There's an action that's been taken. All overall, we're in a financial revolution and there really is no leader. So our solution is really twofold. Number one, a direct-to-consumer approach, where we're making a financial planning experience that empowers the individual to lead their own revolution, blending education, digital tools, and coaching, which we feel helps the user reach their financial flow. The other element of what we're doing is we're delivering this to groups of people, companies, where we can offer a wellness program that makes their employees more productive and has to reduce turnover. And we'll deliver this by offering workshops, an educational piece, and then this gamification rewards element. Now, the way that we intend to scale this is through an app. Flow is what it's called. So everyone meet Flow. What Flow will do is it'll help you take your big picture goal of getting to that first $250,000, $500,000, break it down into objectives. These objectives might be something like paying off a credit card. Then it'll take that objective and then break it into tasks that line up with how frequently you're compensated. So today, Talisha was paid $3,000. Talisha, contribute $500 towards your credit card, $200 towards your emergency fund, and $50 towards your child's college fund. When you do that, we're going to give Talisha points. In addition to that, one of your goals is sending your kid to college. So why don't you learn everything that you need to know that is simplified, that meets you where you are in your educational level, so that in less than 15 minutes, you can acquire the knowledge that will empower you to achieve that objective further. When you complete that education, here's points. Then exchange those points for free stock, free crypto. Now, we're also baking in some components where if you do have an advisor, or if you're seeking an advisor, you can either one, give access to your data to your existing advisor, and or directly request to speak with a person, not just deal with a piece of technology directly through the app. Now, we have a fair amount of traction so far. Number one, we have a contract with a cryptocurrency group. Now, we aren't crypto, so don't get caught up in that, as much as there's this community of 15,000 people that have expressed an interest in our service. So we formed an affiliate agreement with them. Furthermore, we already have traction where multiple RIAs, so this is that kind of advisor channel where we can go to an advisor and say, hey, offer this to your younger clients, offer this to your clients' children. So the user remains the same, but how we get to them, rather than trying to catch one user, we can catch multiple. Another component that we're focusing on is the literacy part. We're working with our local mayor as well as the school system to be able to offer this through those channels. Again, the user is still the same. It's the young professional. However, how we get to them and who's paying for it is what changes. In addition to that, there's multiple press write-ups. There's actually a few that are missing, but we're getting press to write about us and we're not paying for it. Now, our business model is really simple. The idea is that the user would have access to this application for less than $10 a month. As they progress in their financial journey, they may want access to those professionals That's where the agency or the RIA kind of revenue comes in. In addition to that, they may want more detailed knowledge. That's where our financial academy or other software add-ons come in. We've already proven that we've had success with this model because we've achieved more than $160,000 of revenue since inception. Our subscription revenue is up 700%, and our agency revenue is up 250% year over year. To be specific, that subscription revenue is going to our financial academy. So that's that education only piece. Now, rather than addressing the market in dollars, we want to address the market in people. Who are we trying to reach? There are 166 million Americans under the age of 40. That accounts for about 51% of our population. Of those individuals, 78% of them, or 129 million of them, prefer to interact with their finances using apps. Of that group, about 40 million of them are already working with who we'd consider some of our competitors. Now, the reason I specify this is because they're interested in this sort of newer age finance. They're moving away from the legacy financial systems and towards more fintech entities. Our focus is by focusing on this rewards or this instant motivation element, and by focusing on an education element, that we can capture 400,000 of those users, which would equate to about 50 million of revenue on an annual basis, excluding our agency, so purely subscription model. We feel we can attain that in the next 5 to 7 years. Now, kind of going where I was going, if we think about this competitive landscape, we can split finance into sort of 3 categories. Debt and money management, think of cash flow, think of accounting. Retrospective, thinking about what has occurred and keeping track of it. On the other side, we have wealth building. This is about access. This is about growth. A lot of the companies that fit that space are your Robinhoods, your Wealthfronts. On the top end of the spectrum, you have this education and empowerment component. There really is no central authority that has captivated or monetized the way this is delivered. Coinbase is actually the most unique. They have a program where if you complete a course, a brief little course and a quiz, you get $3 or $5 worth of some crypto token. Think like that. Now, our go-to-market, again, keeping customer acquisition costs down, is how do we fish with a net rather than fishing with a pole? So we feel we can do this by going to advisors. This approach is a lot like how QuickBooks pursued tax preparers and accountants when they were first getting started. So let's go to advisors and give them a value add to the clients of their clients' children and families. The other component is, again, this crypto community that we have a strong relationship with. Now, our team isn't small. Our team is comprised of a bunch of individuals that have had great success. I'll point out first, Brian Denstedt, our CTO. Brian has spent the last 25 years working as a CTO, and in 2019 actually sold a med tech company for $50 million. Kevin comes to us with a bunch of experience in law and heads up all of our legal department. Boris and Marco have worked on numerous projects together with Samsung and Nike and some major European groups. And then the final person that I'll point out is Carla. Carla is our project manager. She's a Scrum Master and also has 25 years experience as a project manager. Now, our board also brings a lot of talent. Jason has spent the last 10 or 15 years at New York Life working in their corporate marketing department. So he talks a lot of marketing and strategy with us. Charisse has raised over 200 million in government funding. She's brilliant. She's already working with us. That's where a lot of that avenue of making money has come from. We're working with the city of Tampa, the West Tampa area, to create a program for them. And then Derek is the founder of United Coin, just a brilliant financial mind and adds a lot of value. Our focus right now is launching Flow App. Maybe by the end of this quarter, it might end up getting pushed out to the beginning of next quarter, but focused on launching Flow App. With Flow App, our goal is to achieve 250 pre-sales before we launch. The way we're approaching that is we're building a little bit more in-depth product visual. Later on in the call, I can walk you through our prototype. Once we launch, our goal is getting to 2,000 users by the end of the year. Upon reaching 2,000 users, we'll be going for another round of funding that we'll consider our seed round. We'll be raising somewhere between $1 million and $5 million based on valuation. And then from there, it's growth mode, getting to 10,000 by the end of next year. I appreciate your time. I know that Talisha is going to share a number of links. However, if you scan that QR code, it'll take you to our link tree, which will show you everything you could think of.
Thank you very much. Yep. Thank you for that. It's a great presentation. Anybody? Yes, I know. Thank you, Edward. Questions? We're going to wait. I have a few questions and I would love to see your prototype because that's always, I love the tech. I want to see the app and see how that works.
Thank you, Edward. I appreciate it.
Now with your client avatar, you said is younger individuals. Why did you particularly center around those individuals to kind of go this route?
I mean, you have to niche, right? I mean, the riches are in the niches. We're taught that. So, I mean, it's not to say that others are excluded. It's not about exclusivity. I mean, our youngest client, in fact, our longest standing subscriber to our financial academy is 62, and it's a household that's $1 million household. And then there are a number of 40 and 50-year-olds. But as far as who the kind of persona, you could boil it down and say a 27-year-old that makes about 70 grand, that has about 20,000 in student loan debt, maybe 20,000 in auto loan debt, and maybe 10 grand of credit card debt. And they don't desire to work for the same company for 40 years.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
And they want to be, empowered themselves. That's like the ideal persona.
Awesome. Now you showed in one of the slides that there was the integration with regard to retrospective and your habits and your tracking. Is there a way, or you have any APIs that can pull that information from current checking accounts, banking accounts, even other apps?
Exactly that. Yeah, we're using Plaid, and then we're actually layering an enrichment software called Flinks on top of Plaid. As well as the next layer of it will be kind of an AI component where that's a little further down the road. It's not necessary up front, but there will be Plaid and then this enrichment software that can make more rich data and more personalized data.
And what are the rewards kind of based on? So you said you get points for activity. Are they ranked in a certain way? Like if you, pay off a bill, or if you have an installment payment, or if you save so much money, how does the point system work for you?
So there are a number of channels or ways that you get points, and I also see there's a question, so I'll address that. Mm-hmm. The points are going to be overweighted towards education and completion of goals. So the most points will be attained from those two items. However, there's also that task component. So if you think of the money management side of it, is we're not concerned with thinking in a negative way of let's reduce bills. What we're focused on is let's just save first. And if we can start with even something like 5% and drag them all the way up to 20%, which is the goal destination. And then if we can take them above 20%, then consider that bonus. So our goal is the points are effectively prorated based upon you getting as close to 20% of your net income in total savings. And then it's going to be broken up amongst your different objectives. So if one objective is paying off a credit card versus building an emergency fund versus starting a college fund versus funding retirement, right? You have all these different types of objectives. You'll never have more than 3. 3 is the maximum will allow you to focus on. Okay. And then you'll overweight them. Number 1 carries the most weight, number 2, second, number 3, third, right? The only way it'll be modified is if you rank one above the other. So that's how you'll achieve the points. I hope I answered that question.
Yes.
And on the back end, Early on, we're not going to have the broker dealer or RIA. So that whole offering fractional shares or crypto is really kind of like phase 2 of the company. Phase 1 will be merchandise and experiences. So like one of the people who is influential in our company owns a $5 million RIA. I mean, they're pretty legitimate. They've got some of the largest clients here in our area. Imagine if you could get 30 minutes with that guy, so think being on a workshop with that guy, or think exchanging it for a free shirt or a free hat or some headphones or something like that.
That is awesome. Those are great perks. A lot of people like, even though money is good, sometimes it is the experience that really drives it home for you and is truly a differentiator from one app to the other. So that's a great one.
Right.
So Bernard has a question here. It says, does your platform include actual investing or just financial education?
So I kind of alluded to that in what I just said, but why don't I do this? I'll show you guys the prototype because that'll give you the visual.
Awesome. Let's see it.
So the very first thing that you're going to see on the screen is your progress towards that 250,000. And you're going to be able to break it down by different time periods. So you could see, am I up or am I down, right? And if I am I up during this period or am I down during this period? And then from there, we're going to take that big picture goal of getting to 250 and again, break it into objectives. So in this case, it's a down payment for a home and paying off a credit card. Then we're going to take that objective and break it into tasks that line up with how frequently you're paid. So imagine getting a push notification. Again, boom, Talisha, you just got paid $3,000. Go send 500 towards, in this case, your savings account, and then go spend another, $50 towards this savings account. When you do, you see you get these experience points, these points. Then the final thing that you'll see on your home screen is education. So again, this is a down payment. So what are the things that you need to know that are in digestible bites? You might need to know about loan to value or debt to income, or, what credit score you should have, or, finding the right neighborhood for you. So let's have education related to that objective. Again, when you complete it, here's some points. Then the other component of what was asked is, let's aggregate all of our financial data in one place. Let's not exclude business. Let's not exclude crypto. Let's include those items as well. Also, let's have all of our debts. And then finally, let's exchange all of those points for rewards. So this is that rewards experience. To answer your question, as far as the first version, where we're focused right now is staying as lean. So minimum viable product. Let's release this product. What is different than everybody else is proving this concept that we can help someone make an objective, break it into tasks, have them complete the task, reward them for completing the task, educate them, reward them for completing the education, and exchanging it for rewards. That's basically all the first version of our app is going to do. We need to get to 2,000 users with that model. When we can validate that we can do that, then the very next features that will be added will be, let's open an investment account. Let's open a retirement account. Let's have a full service application where you don't have to take your money elsewhere. It's all in one tool.
That's great. Now, is that educational component based on the task or the goals, or is
The
just
objective.
basically wrote? Okay.
The objective, yeah, it's related to the objective. And so the way we've broken down the objectives is there are effectively 5 categories. So you have major purchase, you have general wealth building, you have funding retirement, children's savings goals, and debt reduction. Basically, everything in finance fits in one of those categories. And so then from there are subcategories. So like major purchase might be buying your first home or buying a car or buying a boat, so on and so forth. I'm sure you can see where I'm going. So the education will be related to both that subcategory as well as the overarching category.
All right. I have a few more questions here for you. So Kim she says she appreciates your well thought out timeline. How and how often will you keep your investors informed of your progress?
At least quarterly. We have already scheduled board meetings. In fact, the next board meeting is at the very last day of this quarter. I think it's June 30th. at 11 a.m. So after that board meeting, of course, not everyone is going to be invited to it at this stage, but we'll usually send out some minutes or some updates from that board meeting.
Awesome. Sarah has a question. She says, are you planning or creating your own financial education content to syndicate to the customers, or are you pulling it from a reputable source or sources?
To date, we've been doing it all internal. I think there are a lot of creative ways that we could do it. So again, you know, I'm a millennial, so we can go crazy with it. Where I'm going with that is I've thought of, like, you know, I used to collect baseball cards, or, you know, I had friends that did like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh, right? That was like our generation. And there would be these like specialty packs that this special card was in, you know, a Barry Bonds Hall of Fame card or something like this. And so we've thought of doing some things like that, where let's go to a Grant Cardone and let's partner with the Grant Cardone and offer this exclusive course that the members have a limited time to access it. And if they do it, they get bonus points. So we've considered doing some things like that, but everyone that has created course content is a licensed person and has been a licensed person for a while.
Awesome. I can see this as an interesting user-generated content. Also, that's very big to see, you know, as you progress. That's all people, you know, wanting to see how the app goes and what they've achieved through it. I know for me, that's like clocking your own journey. That's the reason kind of apps are really kind of cool, because they do show your progress and you have instant access to them. So there is that kind of instantaneous, oh, I did it. Let me see what happened, and kind of tracking your own and sharing that with your community, like the Fitbits of the world, but from a fintech perspective.
I could certainly see that. You know, that's a lot of tools are trying to figure out how to make things social. Social makes it a little more sticky. So yeah, the user generated content, you know, number one, reduces cost. Number two, makes it social. Obviously, the challenge with being in a world like finance, I mean, you know, we're going to have a licensed component behind us. You know, how reputable is that content? So I think someone sharing their experience and making it more like ad-like is a little different than them actually creating the content and someone following it.
Correct. Yes, I would.
Would
agree. Well, we always get this question, so I'm going to ask it for the community. Everyone wants to know, is there an exit strategy to your business?
Yes. So again, I spent 10 years working in corporate America. I spent 2.5 years at Regions Bank. I spent about 7 years at 6.5, 7 years at Northwestern Mutual, and also spent some time at Franklin. So while we're still a bit early to really get some hard, fast traction with that, yes, have already begun laying seeds that we would be acquired by someone like one of them. The idea that has emerged as of late that our RIA contacts are really pushing is actually more of like a Fidelity or a Vanguard, who is trying to capture on that, you know, younger audience. They have a lot of these low cost ETF kind of portfolios that you can invest in. You know, they are a wirehouse, so you can have an account. So if they could offer a financial planning tool that is a little better than some of the existing ones, is a little more user friendly, that could be another potential exit. So our goal is to be acquired in the next 5 to 7 years.
Okay. Any other questions? We're moving right along. We're keeping you on your bedtime schedule, sir. Any questions? Well, my final question for you is, why the 10K project? We always like to ask all those that come to us, like, why did you choose us and to spend the time that you have with us at this point?
I mean, first of all, I think, you know, I'm multiracial, right? Mom's white, dad's black. But as a young African-American entrepreneur, I think it's important that we support one another. So first and foremost, it was like, you know, let me support the 10K project. Let me get involved. And then, you know, second to that, I'll give you an example. The late great Kobe Bryant, Body Armor. came to Kobe Bryant early on, wrote a check for $20 million. Before he passed, his family cashed out for like 350 million bucks. Kevin Durant invest in Coinbase early in Coinbase, turned like 3 million bucks into like $300 million with Coinbase, right? So I recognize that what we're building, we already have a lot of support. We have a lot of traction. However, a lot of the support and a lot of the traction is not coming from our community. So I think it's important that our community is involved in this because it's important. What we're doing is important, but then also the potential for that kind of bigger exit is pretty easily available.
Very true. And we do appreciate you coming. This is always the, we say getting in on the ground floor is very important, especially in this aspect. And your app is obviously good for the financial literacy piece and growing with us to, again, encapsulate all the things that we do from a financial standpoint. So can't wait. I would love to be a beta tester. Let me know. That's one of my favorite things.
Absolutely.
If we don't have any final questions at this point, we're going to say good night. But thank you very much for your time. And again, everybody, you know what to do. You have the link in there that you can share this campaign. It'll be all over. It'll be in our newsletter, also and all over across our social media. So we will definitely be supporting you. You can feel free to come to the 10K because now you are a member. So please interact with us and let us know your progress. And we will definitely see you soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.